Howdy, I'm CyberX with Outlandishly Crafted, and today we're gonna talk about things you shouldn't do. How do we stop doing things that we don't want to happen? For example, how do we stop an animation on our arms when we don't want it to be there? So I have this bookshelf here, a nice little bookshelf here. I'm going to pick up the bookshelf, and now I've got that bookshelf in my hands. Oh, we got to change the weather. Oh, the weather changed for us. There you go. I got the bookshelf in my hands, and what I don't want to happen is I don't want my arms to swing. So see now when I'm walking, my arms aren't swinging and it looks correctly. Versus if I had something like a normal item, like a fishing pole, when I have it in my hands do this really wide swing. And that causes me lots of problems because when I'm holding something in my hands, I don't want it to do all that swing. I want it to be right there, easy peasy in my hands so that I can just place it down and it makes sense, right? So same thing with, you see how I do my attack animation when I place? That's another good example that I could exclude that and not have that in there when I'm using, when I have this item in my hand. So let's jump over and check, how do we do this? How do we get the things to not animate when we don't want them to? So let's jump over to Bridge version 1. It doesn't matter what you're using, it's all the same. This is just giving you the example. So over here in Bridge, we're going to jump into our player entity file in our resource pack. You can get this out of the vanilla pack, the vanilla download. And in here we have our scripts. And in scripts we have animation. And in animation we have this root animate. So root animate goes out there and it animates all of the stuff that you do. And this is what the root animation controller looks like. It has first person, map player, paper doll, and third person. We care about third person right now because that's where you see the arms swinging. And so what we want to do is look through all of these, and what you're going to find is move.arms. We want to change that from being, this is just a array, just a list. We want to change that from being like this to like this so that we can put the query in it. And what this query does is the query says, if you're not holding this guy, and if you're not holding this guy, and if you're not holding this guy, and I just have a huge list of all of the things that I'm not holding. And so when I'm holding these, this does not play. It plays for anything else held except these. It's also very important to understand that when you're doing a negative and a negative, it's an and. If you were doing a positive and a positive, it would be an or. An or is like this, and is like this. So this is and, this is or. Or would not work when it's two negatives. This is just a confusing thing about how programming works. If you have these negatives and you're excluding stuff, it's and. If you're doing it equal equal, then it would be or. If you had it equal equal and you said and, then you'd have to be holding both items at the same time, which is not possible. Now you could say, if you had a helmet or a chest piece, that would be one or the other. You could also say, if you had a helmet and a chest piece, then that would require both of them. So just be aware of this. This really gets people, and you could lose a lot of days trying to figure out why this doesn't work because you're not using the right or, and. Okay, so that's really it. We're going to say when you're playing third-person animation, on the arm animations and the move arm animations, don't do it unless it's not one of these. For the legs, it's just doing it anyways. So you could see the same thing. You could change legs. Don't change the legs if on a treadmill. Or if doing, because I don't want the legs to go up if I'm riding a treadmill. So there's different options there how to make that work. Now, really quick, let's jump over and say, well, okay, I didn't play this, but I do want something on my arms to move. I don't want them just to not do anything. And so what you would do is you would add into the player's resource pack, you would add in the animation or the animation controller you want to play with the equal or. So here we're excluding it from playing on, because you don't want both of them to play. If both plays, then they stack on top of each other. So for example, say I wanted to counteract, I have a treadmill, and I want my player to be able to run on the treadmill, but he's still riding the treadmill. So by default, his legs are going to flip up when he rides, which looks silly. So what I need to do is play two animations. The legs flip up for ride, and then I play another animation that it plans on the legs being flipped up, and I counter it and I play a run animation instead, but you have to plan that the first animation is playing. So in blockbench, when you program it, you actually play the other animation with your animation together to make sure it looks right. So you stack the animations on top of each other. In here, we don't want to stack them on top. We want to exclude it from here and then play the one we want to play. So if you're carrying a barrel, play hold large item. If you're carrying a small vase, play small vase, but don't play arms. And that's it. That's how we get our run around without our arms moving so that we can decide different things. Now, you could also then do different animations for different weapons. So some weapons could have one animation, and other weapons could have a different animation. So if you wanted the axe to have that type of attack, but you wanted the sword to have an overhead attack, you could do one or the other. Or you could have, if I don't have any item in my hand, then I could do a martial arts attack. But if I have an item in my hand, then I don't do a martial arts attack. Instead, I do a normal attack. And those are all coming down to what button you're clicking and just what filter you're putting on which animations. Because it's all fake. Animations don't do anything in the real world on the server side. They're just visual. So that's it. I'm Cyberax with Outlandishly Crafted. And this has been how to not do things. How to stop animations from playing when you don't want them to play. Oh, I got one more. I think I've got this fancy staff. Okay, so here, oh, no, I didn't put it in for the staff. So that would be another example is where, like, you really don't want the staff like that to be going, but I didn't put it in. But that would be where you could put it into. So I'm Cyberax, Outlandishly Crafted. Make sure and appease the YouTube overlords. And like and subscribe and ring that bell and tell your friends. And if you're in a Discord somewhere and people don't know about these guides, please tell them, because almost all of the views are coming from external sources. So put us out on Twitch, put us out on your YouTube channels, whatever you can do to get these guides out to more people to help them so less questions come into the Discord channels. That would be great. Check out the website outlandishlycrafted.com.